Hey there. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to come on and share a little bit. In the car, I've recently come across a really amazing person's channel, and all of her channelings, all of her talks are done from her car. And there's literally been so many times that I've wanted to make a video, and my Virgo nature or whatever perfectionism is like, oh, you don't have the perfect place to be right now because you're, at your parents' house and there's all these people everywhere and you never have any time alone. So you have to get to a park. Oh, I can't get to a park today, so I can't make a video. Blah, blah, blah. And here's this girl making videos in her car. And then I realized that what I wanted to share about actually has to do with the car. Both of these instances that I wanted to share about have to do with a car, the vehicle of transportation, the chariot, the driving force forward, the movement of the soul from one phase to another, the transition, and the ultimate transition being what we perceive as death. So I've had two near-death experiences in 1 year's time, and they were both very, very different circumstances, but they were that nonetheless. One of them was an accident, a freak accident, and one of them was a choice. And so I just got in my car and I had this overwhelming feeling of just love and appreciation for having a body, being in form, having this human experience. And then I think about what happened, how I had these two experiences in a very short span of time. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, within 8 months of each other. So I don't know how this is going to come out, and I don't know exactly what is the point, so to speak, but I, again, have a knowing in my heart that I'm meant to share this and that there are codes and keys in here for you. So I was living in North Carolina with my daughter and her father for 3 years. I'm from Texas. I've lived in Texas most of my life, other than, stints here and there, lots of travel and things like that. But I've been a Texas native, and then the time came where life circumstances in 2021, I think, led me to the mountains of North Carolina. And I lived there for 3 years. And then it became very apparent through spirit guidance, very strong, crazy, non-logical spirit guidance, that I was to be leaving that life, that timeline, that life situation, and go back to Texas. And it was such a fast, strong, overbearing energy of like, go and go now, and it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't have to. You must go now. Here, follow this sparkly thing over here, go towards the sparkle. And boy, did I. But it wasn't like a choice that was coming from my ego nature, my like, oh, I want this thing, and so I'm going after this thing towards this way. It was like, yeah, I see that thing over there. Yeah, it's sparkly, but I have this life and it's easy and it's beautiful and I'm, like peaceful. I haven't been around people, and now you want me to go be around all those people? Are you serious? Like, I've been in deep hermit, and now you're asking me to go and be with lots of people and go and be in this vulnerable heart space and like just all these things that I had not been engaged with ever, and also in a long time. So I get this guidance that I am to go and go fast to Texas. And so And it was interesting too, because I was warned about this little window of time where it would be better if I waited it out or like left immediately, in order to avoid some negative energy, so to speak. And I'm not one who's like, oh, I need to protect myself, because I am the radiance. I am the protection, you know? And yet, you know, I listen to this person because I trust this person, and she's a very wise person. But when it came down to it, I did end up trying to get things moving in this window, and I was told it was like a tornado kind of energy, and in order to not be caught up in the tornado, to wait. So anyway, blah blah blah. I decide when I need to go is when I need to go, and it was a certain date. And so when I was going to go pick up the moving vehicle. I didn't have a vehicle at the time, so I was literally transporting myself and my daughter with all of our things back to Texas in the moving vehicle. And so I was guided to go up to where I was working at the time, at this historic inn, and say goodbye to some friends. And so my daughter and I drove up the mountain and went to this place, this inn that I worked. And the driveway was on an incline, right? And I usually would not ever park in that driveway because getting in and out of it was tricky. I don't like inclines, really. And so I would park on the street below. But this day in particular, for whatever reason, I decided to park in the parking lot. And so when I'm leaving my friends, I get in the car, and we're going to get the vehicle now. And my daughter and I get in the car, and all of a sudden she's like, "Mommy, mommy, look." And I look back, and it looks like her hand, well, it doesn't look like, her hand is in the door. So I thought, oh God, she's shut her hand in the door. I like had a panic response, and I go to get out of the car. And I open up the car, I get out, but the car was already in reverse. And so the car starts going backwards down an incline on a mountain. And so I turn my body around to face, whoa! I turn my body around to face the opposite way, you know, like this way, holding the car with the door. I'm trying to stop the car from going down with my body up against the door as it's going this way. And I'm not making a difference because there's an incline, and I'm holding and I'm trying and I'm doing everything that I think I can. I have sandals on. My sandals explode off of my feet. And finally, there came a moment where I had to let go. I was being dragged underneath the door at this point. I was on the ground trying with my feet. My sandals had already exploded, and I had this moment where I knew I couldn't do anything to stop it. I couldn't do anything to stop it. And I had to let go. And my baby is in the car with me. And so I let go. And I was on the ground at this point. The car had hit a bush. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I came to, and there was a man, and I had seen his car coming towards our car as we're going down before I let go. And when I came back to, he was approaching, and he was approaching very calmly. He just said, "Are you okay?" And I didn't really know if I was okay. I didn't know. I was in shock. My friend was there and she came up and she was talking to me. I don't remember what she was saying at this point. I saw my daughter, Sedona, and she was okay. She was in shock. I was bleeding a lot. I had slammed down on the ground. I don't know if you can see this scar right here, but I had slammed my cheek, and you see there's like a scar right there too. It was real bad. My feet were really, really busted up. I had a giant burn, injury, whatever, on my butt. I was in shock. And there were witnesses, and they don't know how the car stopped, because it would have continued to go off of this incline. It was really, really intense. And I just found it to be really interesting timing that I'm making this leap from one life into another one that I knew I needed to be leaping into. I didn't even know what was coming. I had no idea where I was going on a big scale. I just knew I have to follow this guidance because it's God, it's source, it's love, it's the universe, and it's saying go. I have to go. I've learned by now. Doesn't mean it's going to be pretty when you follow it, but I've learned. Follow it. So here I am, bloodied up. I still am supposed to be like packing up the rest of my apartment into like all of my apartment into this. I can't do anything. Like, I went back to my apartment and I had to pass out. My body was very injured. I'm not a hospital person. I'm not I don't go to checkups. I don't do things like that. And I guess even when I'm injured, I was not guided to go to the hospital. I just went to my apartment and I went to sleep. And then upon waking up and looking around at my apartment, oh my God, I forgot. Wow. I drove the car and wait, how did that work? Hold on a second. Thank you for just like sitting here with this. I'm trying to remember how I actually got the moving truck. Because the moving truck was gotten that day, that evening. I had to have gotten there. I think my friend Elena helped me. Oh my gosh, I don't remember. Yeah, she helped me. She drove with me to the place. And then I got the moving vehicle all bloodied and everything. It was crazy. I looked like I'd been severely beaten. Anyway, so I got the moving truck and made it back to my apartment. And then I passed out. So that evening, angel humans showed up and packed up my whole entire apartment for me into this truck, except for my bed. And my daughter and I slept in the bed that night, and I woke up the next day and an angel person came back and packed up the bed for me. And then I said goodbye to that segment of my life, which was very beautiful in many ways, but it was also very terrible in many ways. I went through, just layers and layers of shadow and toxicity in relation. Learning how to finally get to the place where I would leave it all behind for the last time. I learned a lot. I met a lot of beautiful people. But yeah, I left it behind and I drove across the country to Texas to begin a new segment of the journey. And boy, oh boy, have I become a new version of myself since coming here back to Texas last September. Remarkable change. I have met love within myself that maybe on some level I knew was there, but had yet to experience. Love that goes beyond all human conception, goes far beyond the word. And I met that love within me. And I realized that even though love can be inspired by ones outside of ourselves, that it actually is who we are and what we're made of. And we do have the ability to touch this love and to be open for this love to touch us so thoroughly and deeply that it literally transforms our genetic makeup. It transforms our circuitry, and therefore our thoughts, our behaviors, our patterns. It changes everything. And in what seems like the taking away of the inspiration of these feelings, leaving you to yourself, so to speak, it is the deepest pain, the deepest sorrow. And that is what is termed an emotional or spiritual death, right? I've had so many of those in this life, as I'm sure many of you have. But I have definitely experienced a few spiritual deaths in the past year. But in the process, meeting the source within me deeper than ever and building my foundation, the foundation I've been searching for externally for so long, for a whole lifetime at least, I am creating now by opening to experience it within myself, as myself, meeting my own divine masculine essence within me and allowing that essence within me to take care, to hold a container for the feminine aspect that I am, to dance, to sing, to express the way that I am now, to speak, to make artwork, to dream. But I had to leave a faulty, false, very toxic foundation. A tower that would always have to have fallen because it had no real foundation. It had to fall, it had to crumble, I had to jump and walk away from it to ever experience my own foundation. And I'm still balls deep in the creation of it every day. But I did it, I'm here now, and I'm building this foundation. I'm allowing this foundation, this God, source, universe foundation within me to unfold. And so this brings me to the second death, near-death experience. I just recently told the story of my initiation and letting go and trusting. And I was driving myself to Florida with my daughter. I was getting her to her family that she hadn't seen in over a year. It was a very, very powerful initiation of the spirit, of the mind, of the body. And it took everything in me, and it brought up all of my shadows, all of these things. But I did it, and I passed through a threshold of my spirit. And in doing so, I, for lack of a better term, passed a test that I had set up for myself at some point on some level as a soul. And while I was driving finally into the state of Florida, having gone through many things to get there, a song came on the radio, a song that is very near and dear to my heart and soul and has a deep spiritual symbolism to an ex-partner of mine that is no longer on the earth plane. And a whole realm and genre, not genre, but a phase of my life, of my youth. And it's a song, Champagne Supernova. And so basically, I'm in the car. I'm feeling very accomplished at this particular moment because I had this goal of getting us to Florida. We had no money. Literally 23 cents in the bank account, 53 miles of gas when I left on the trip, but I was told, you gotta go, you gotta make it there, you will make it there. Remember, you're not the doer. God's got you. You need to go. This is your reintroduction into trust. So go, and I am just crazy enough to do it. So, but it's not crazy. I'm embodying the trust that I've put in so many external things. I am now turning inside, and I am now embodying that trust in my guidance, which is source, which is me, and I'm following the path. And even if it doesn't look sane or logical or like anything anyone else would do, I don't care for that anymore. I must go. So we went, me and my daughter, and we made it to Florida. We passed over the lines, and I never listened to the radio. I have my cell phone that I plug into my Spotify, and I listen to my own music that I love, never the radio. But I didn't have any charge on my phone, and so I turn on the radio. And a person that I love very much coined this spirit radio, when you just like tune in and start listening and know that the messages are there for you. So I'm like, all right, let's check it out, spirit radio. So I turn on the radio, and indeed, spirit was talking to me and giving me some messages, which was cool. And then Champagne Supernova comes on, and all of a sudden, everything starts to slow down in my reality, and I've got my hands on the wheel, and I feel the presence of this being who's passed over into the car. And then I feel the presence of the man that I love enter the car. And they have connection in the spirit realm and in this physicality as well. And we have this like trinitizing energy that we chose to come and embody in this life. And we span beyond time and space. But they come forward in this moment as time is slowing down, and the lyrics of this song are becoming very just like, whoa, like they were made for this moment. Wait, there is no other moment. There's only this moment. And they were both communicating that to me, like, hey, we're here. It's only now. We're going home now. And I start to lose sensation in my hands and my feet and my whole entire body. I start to leave my body, and they're telling me like, we're going home now. It's okay. you're safe, you're good, everything's good, everything's God, everything's source, everything's one. And I'm like, and I'm literally like driving a car down the freeway and also like dissipating out of reality. And I'm like, oh, home, yes, one, now we're all together now. Wait, what about my kid? And I like turn around, she's asleep in her car seat. I literally can't feel my body. I'm like beginning to float. And I'm like, what about Sedona? What about my daughter? What happens? And this is all happening like in a, split second, right? I'm not like taking my time here. It's like a download simultaneously. The question is asked, it's answered. I'm like, what about my daughter? What happens in this reality if I go, if I transcend? And what I was hearing was, there is no road. There is no Sedona. There's nothing here. Like, you're already home. You're experiencing a holographic projection of reality. Like, you're already with everything on the other side of things. You're just dreaming. Like, it's okay. You can come home now. But I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to leave this life yet. And right as I had that awareness that I didn't want to leave, I simultaneously look up and there's this big billboard and it says, stay and play. And it's like, Florida, stay and play. But in that moment, it was like, stay and play. And I said, yes, I want to stay and play. And then what I was hearing was, okay, you can stay and play. Sure. And I started to slowly come back into my body and feel my senses again. And I was just like, holy, 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 holy. Did I almost just leave? Did I almost just die and transcend while I was driving a car with my kid in the car? Like, what just happened? And then the messages started to come in. You reached one of your goals as a soul, you reached a completion of a level and you had the opportunity to exit. It was one of your exit points and you chose to stay and play. You wanted to continue, which means you're summoning the will to keep going. You're summoning the will to step onto the next platform, the next level of your mission work, your spirit work here on the planet. You're saying yes to that. And whoa. It was shocking in a different way than the accident. I all of a sudden had this perspective, like, we freaking literally have no idea when that moment's gonna come for each of us. We have these ideas like, oh, I'm on the spiritual path. I'll be here forever. Like, I'm a human, and we just I literally almost went while driving a car perfectly fine, perfectly sober, and was just like, la la, I'm just leaving, And then I'm like, what is this place? But I know what this place is. I know what this experience is. We are living in a holographic projection of the mind of God, and we're having our own unique experience of that. And oh my God, what a blessing it is to have this human perspective, to have this body that can do stuff, can experience the greatest pleasure. Oh, the greatest just like sensuality, and then pain. You want to fucking eject from it and leave the body sometimes and not be here for the moment. But then again, it comes in and I'm like, whoa, this is incredible that I'm here and that I'm building my foundation and I do want to stay and play. And it's fucking hard sometimes to keep going. And you feel tired and you feel like, can I get a break? And I'm doing all this work and I'm doing all this work and I'm doing all this work, and, you know, frustration and all these things come up. But then in another moment, not too long from then, or maybe even simultaneously, there's no rules. It's just everything. And I'm just like in the midst of the deepest frustration and whatever. And all I need to do is rage out for a second and fucking yell and scream and stuff. And then I'm like, oh my God, I love life. We are all of it. We're everything. And we get to be here. It is a gift to be here. It's a gift to have human emotions. It's a gift to be shocked back into life, to almost lose it, to come back to being vital again and grateful on a deeper level. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And I'm here and I'm playing, and I'm very happily doing so. And I'm so happy that you all, the collective who tunes in here, are doing so with me. Thank you for listening and tuning into this message today. I was just feeling really grateful for life, and so I wanted to share those two experiences that I was gifted with to remind me just how much of a blessing this life is. I love you so much. Bless your everything. In Lakesh.